Coming to you live from Lagos, this is Lunchtime Politics. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. Let's bring you the big stories we're tracking in politics and in the polity. Beginning with our headlines right now. Federal Executive Council approves 47 trillion naira spending limit for the 2025 fiscal year as the president shifts presentation of the appropriation bill to Wednesday to a joint session of the National Assembly. The Labour Party records loss of lawmakers to the ruling APC. Party heads to court. One seat of defectors declared vacant. We're here to bring all interest, especially from the NWC, to the fore. There's a lot going on in the polity, and our responsibility is to bring you up to speed. We call it the midday gateway into the polity. And let's get started with some of the things that are going on with the Federal Executive Council that has given a final approval for a 2025 appropriation bill of 47 trillion naira and 60 billion naira, respectively. The approval was given at a meeting of the council chaired by President Bola Tinubu at the State House in Abuja. Meanwhile, the National Assembly has postponed the presentation of the 2025 budget by the President from Tuesday to Wednesday, December the 18th. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, disclosed this while briefing State House correspondent. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, has a report.
President Bola Tinubu arrives at the Council Chamber of the State House to chair the last meeting of the Federal Executive Council for 2024. It has a full attendance of members of the President's cabinet. The meeting ends within a few hours after commencement, and some ministers briefed journalists on major resolutions reached, including the 2025 appropriation bill.
The Federal Executive Council approved the budget proposals for 2025 with amendments which Mr. President directed. The expenditure is projected at 47 trillion 960 billion, which is an increase of 36.8% from the 2024 estimate.
President Tinubu was billed to present the 2025 budget to the National Assembly on Tuesday. But how feasible is that?
That engagement is ongoing, and there is the possibility, if the National Assembly concurs, that we shift the budget presentation from tomorrow to the day after.
A second question that arises is how possible it is to achieve the one-year budget cycle, considering that only few days are left for the lawmakers to consider the bill before the end of 2024.
We can't prejudge the National Assembly, but we believe that the National Assembly will expeditiously consider, given the track record, given the confidence, given their sense of appreciation of the relationship with the executive, particularly with Mr. President. However, I need to say here that our constitution have always anticipated that even if a budget is not passed by the 31st of December, the executive can continue to incur expenditure.
Apart from the 2025 budget, FEC also approved the commencement of the Phase 1 of the Presidential Power Initiative, also known as the Siemens Project, which involves rehabilitation of 14 brownfield existing substations and the establishment of 23 new greenfield stations across the country.
The cost of this first batch of the Phase 1 of the Siemens Project that was approved this afternoon is 161,328,228 euro.
Meanwhile, FEC has passed a vote of confidence on President Bola Tinubu for his leadership so far. The Federal Executive Council also approved the motion moved by President Bola Tinubu to rename the University of Abuja to Yakubu Gowon University in recognition of the contribution of the former military head of state to the growth of Nigeria. From the presidential villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
From the villa ahead of the 2027 general elections, the Youth Hub Africa has urged political parties and aspirants to engage in grassroots politics to increase youth representation in Parliament. This call was made by the Executive Director of the organization at the 5th edition of the Dare Determined Conference on Aspire, Reimagine and Expression held in Abuja.
Those who are under 35 represent almost 60 to 70% of Nigeria's population, and data shows us that this youth bulge for the next 20 years in African countries, including Nigeria, would continue to grow and evolve. And so it's just common sense that when you have such a youth bulge, they should take a good part, a good chunk of the political space and the governance space. But when we want to unleash the potential and power of young people, I always say to people that it's a narrow prism just to look at the political space alone. We need to develop policies that ensure young people lead in innovation. On the African continent today, Nigeria is one of the what we call the big four. Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, and Egypt are the biggest four countries that are attracting the biggest resources on technology innovation. Government is just playing a small role in that. If we increase that government, we would see many more Nigerian young people embrace innovation. If we build their capacity, if we strengthen their capacity, they have the opportunity to do more.
All right, there's a lot going on in the polity. We always say that, and our job, of course, we will reiterate, is to track it and bring you up to speed. But let's get back to that budget presentation that should have happened right now. We understand it's been shifted, I think, to tomorrow. But if there are further development, we'll let you know. But just to give you a snapshot of what that budget will look like based on information we got yesterday from the Minister of Budget and National Planning. If my producer can put up those are the assumptions of the budget. You can see the budget size, 47.9. GDP growth expected at 4.6, and the crude oil price expected at 75. And let's go back to the other slide, please. If we get back to the other one, where we can see some of the other slides, some of the other assumptions in terms of oil outputs. Yes, this one, oil outputs, as well as, of course, exchange rates. But if we flip back to the main one that had the president's picture, him presenting a budget, you could clearly see that we have a deficit of 13 trillion naira, given the fact that we expect to raise a revenue of 34.8 trillion naira in that fiscal year. So there's a lot of ramping up and optimization that has to do. But the federal government has come out to say this 13 trillion naira will be funded through borrowing. We're going to explore that conversation another time, but let's wait for the president to present the budget. But this is the outlook of the 2025 appropriation bill for those who follow the numbers. Okay, let's get to talk some politics. And this today in focus is the issue of the Labour Party. The party has lost about 5 or 6 lawmakers at the federal level to the All Progressives Congress. There's a lot going on within the Labour Party. It feels like since they contested in the 2023 election and had an unprecedented outing, 6.1 million people came out and turned out to vote for the candidate Peter Obi, as against Atiku Abubakar's 6.8 or so, and then the president's 7.8 million votes, as against Kwankwaso's 1 million votes plus. But since that particular, what you call some level of a shake-up within the polity, the shake-up within the party has started from that moment until now. It seems not to be going. So it appears some people are maybe too tired, too bored, too worried, too concerned about their political future, and they are moving. And the party has said, no, you cannot just move. We're heading to court and your seat will be declared vacant. Well, we've been joined in the program by the National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party, Mr. Obi Orefo. He joins us from Abuja studio. Mr. Abur, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So you give us an overview of really, because there's a lot of things that we're seeing going on with the Labour Party, and it's very concerning. But you give us an overview. What exactly is going on? From leadership crisis to the top guns fighting themselves, and now to this gale of defection?
Well, thank you so much for giving us the privilege to talk about Labour Party again, the party we consider as the biggest political party in terms of numerics in Nigeria. And you will remember that after the election in 2023, the Labour Party shook the nation. Nobody expected us to go how far we did. And we came up winning as much as 6 million votes as declared. But for us, we knew that we had over more than 9 million votes. But we go by the votes that was declared. And we did expect that the Labour Party would become a party where people will begin to flash their lights to know how we came about that. And you know, in Nigeria, the moment you finish election, the next election begins to take shape. So we did shouted at that point that we had intel that Labour Party, leadership of Labour Party will be hounded, will be harassed. And shortly after the Supreme Court judgment, a lot of things began to happen. People were funded to begin to create division in Labour Party. But that is not even the issue, because in almost all the political parties, you have one crisis or the other. Some are even still going as much as higher as we talk today. But in Labour Party's case, the matter has since been settled. The courts, not one, not two courts, have come out to say that there are no crises in Labour Party, and that the leadership of Labour Party, led by Julius Abur, is valid. But where we had issues at that time was that the electoral umpire thought otherwise. They gave out the impression that things were not working right in Labour Party. We tried to convince them. And as a result, some of our leaders bought into their argument, and they wanted to change the leadership. But we told them that changing leadership is not something that you do out of your whims and caprices. There are procedures to change leadership. So why don't we follow the procedure? But some of them were in a haste. They just wanted the leadership to change. So we approached the court. And court took that, gave that judgment, which says that we are fine. But then, the damage had been done. So many of our elected members, you recall that we won about 35 seats in the House of Representatives, and about 8 seats in the Senate, and so many other seats in the lower house, the House of Assembly. But many of our elected members didn't understand. One didn't, because they are very new in politics. You know what Labour Party did? We didn't go for the big names. We went for people that didn't have opportunity to contest the election, maybe because they did not have the financial muscles. We practically gave most of them free forms to run this election. And with the wave of the obedient, many of them won elections. And we expected them to get back to the party, to learn the values, the core values of the party. But most of them didn't even understand what we are talking about. We said that winning an election is one thing, but carrying out the message of Labour Party is another thing.
Mr. Obiora, my apologies if I will have to button. So I understand your explainers, but sometimes it sounds like grasping at straws, because the reason, respectfully, could be that a lot of these guys rode on the popularity of Peter Obi. That is not in contest. We know the Labour Party had produced governors. Adams Oshomole, Olusegun Mimiko, they produced, but never in the history of the Labour Party at the national level did they record this level of success. That even, I think, a man who used to ride Okada got into the House of Assembly or House of Reps, so I can't really remember. That is the level of impact the personality of Peter Obi brought. But it looks like that personality in itself now became an issue, because at the end of the day, these people that are now seen as opportunists have come in and they try to understand politics and they are beginning to change direction. So is Labour Party thinking of building an institution and not building a party around the person? Because that is critical.
Yes, I agree with you completely. If you recall, shortly after the court gave the judgment about 2 months ago, Labour Party came up with policies, programs that is going to strategically position the party to win elections in future. Number one is that we now started our political education campaign. It's out there. We also created a directorate of mobilization and integration. It's out there. We also created directorate of international and diaspora affairs. It's out there. And just about a few weeks ago, we opened up a platform, a link for registration of membership so that people can come and register. We are the first to do online registration. And it's out there. And we have put out our timetable out there, signifying that by February next year, we are going to start our World Congress up to the State Congress, so as to elect new leaders that can run this party. The party is doing so much. The party is doing everything. We have learned lessons from 2023. Give it to our leader. He did a lot for the party. And we are not saying that he has not done a lot for the party. But what we are trying to do is to put more efforts to ensure that the party gets its act together before the next election.
All right, Mr. Obiora, there's another part we need to speak to, and that has to do with the flip-flop tendency of the leadership of your party, led by Julius Abur. He's been a very controversial figure. Some people said that if perhaps he steps down, the party would have had some level of stability, but Julius Abur has continued to grandstand, court cases, allegations of this and that or the other. So the first question people will ask, what is more important? Is it the bigger picture or the person? You answer that on one hand. On the other hand, perhaps that's the reason people like Peter Obi, Alex Oti, the governor of Abia State, and some other senior members of your party who were elected on the platform of the party had to intervene by calling for a stakeholders meeting and set up a caretaker committee, even though the NWC that says that's illegal. So is Julius Abur not the central figure at this crisis at the end of the day? And what has to happen for him to, I don't know, make a decision for the interest of the party without saying anything he has to do?
No, let me clear that position. Julius Abur is not in any way insisting that he must be the national chairman of Labour Party. As a matter of fact, the leadership of the Labour Party, led by the NEC, are insisting that if anything must be done, it has to be done by the directive of the NEC. So even if Julius Abur decides to step down today, the NEC will reject it. Why? Because we want to do things in proper way legally. You did not elect somebody. You people paid a lot, did a lot to contribute to his emergence in March this year. And the following month, you want him to step aside. First of all, you have to tell us what he has done.
You remember,
So
Obiora,
this
my
is-
apologies,
Earlier you spoke.
Mr. Obiora, my apologies. I will allow you land. Even that conference was even controversial in Nnewi at the end of the day. So I would like you to speak to that effect as well, because I had that conversation with you when that happened. I want you to put that all in the mix.
No, there was nothing controversial about the convention that we had. We have a constitution that guides the party. So also other political parties. Their system is different from the other party's system. Our constitution simply states that you can do your convention because the national leadership has 4 years tenure, while the world, state, and local government has 3 years tenure. There is no way all of them can, conclude at the same point. So we have gone past that stage. The court has also ruled on that stage to say that our convention was valid. So we can't even begin to go back to that era again. We have since moved on. The party is fledgling. Where we are now is that even after all this crisis, the leadership of the Labour Party, ably led by Barrister Julius Abur, has come out to ask all the people that are, aggrieved one way or the other. So please come back. In every crisis, it is always settled on a round table. And it has provided a table for every aggrieved person to come to that table so that we can sort out things.
All right, Ms. Obiora.
Even if you want Abure to step aside, it has to be on a table. I'm not saying that you must decide unilaterally, like they tried to do that, and that is where we are having issues.
So is Ms. Abure willing to step down? That's question number one. If it comes to the survival of the party, if the survival of the party depends on Abure stepping down, do you think that Abure will step down? That's one. Two, when was the last time Ms. Abure called for a NEC meeting? Because NEC can even have extraordinary session. We've not had that.
No, last 2 months, we had a NEC meeting, and your station was invited. Last month again, we had a visual NEC meeting. Last week, just last week, INEC, Department of INEC, in charge of monitoring political parties, came to the Labour Party office to do their job. So the party is doing as much as, in fact, as a matter of fact, we're even supposed to hold another NEC meeting before the end of this year. But we are still trying to put things together. The issue is not about, let me clear this, sir. The issue is not about the management. The issue is not about, the issue is about individuals trying to rise above the political party. And that is why we are saying that it will not work. Individuals must subsume to the party. We have seen situations where people on their own, I was thinking that we should be talking about the people that exited the party.
Yes, that's
measures we are taking.
Yes, I want you to speak to that as quickly as possible within the time we have, because it's a gale of defection. You're threatening lawsuits. You've even gone to court. Is there no, from what you have explained?
We are no longer threatening.
From what you have explained.
We are no longer threatening.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, sir, let me go ahead. We are no longer threatening. We're already in the court. About 7 of our members, including Senator Ezenwo Onyewuchi, Bassey Akibo, Tochukwu Okere, Donatus Matthew, Yahweh Esosa, Akambwe Elia, and the Dialogue Form. They left the party with our mandate freely given to them by the people. And the Constitution simply says, if you must leave, you must drop the mandate.
There's a proviso. No, just a moment for the education of everybody.
I'm not aware there's any crisis. I know that's where you're going. I'm not aware there's any crisis in Labour Party because the court has already said that there is no crisis.
Nenadi Usman is leading a caretaker committee. Abure is leading an NWC, and you said there's no crisis?
When last have you heard from Nenadi Usman? The court gave a judgment, and everybody has taken seat. When last did you hear about those bodies? They have long seated. They are extinct. They are no longer there again because the court has taken proper shape, has given us the party back. There is absolute stability in Labour Party as I talk to you now. So there is no contradiction at all. Somebody laid claim to leadership does not make, just like if I come to your studio in Channels and say that I am now the owner of Channels, does that make me the owner of Channels? No, I only laid claim. But they laid claim and court told them, no, you cannot lay claim because in the first instance, the position in which you are trying to rise does not even exist in your own party constitution. So we are not talking about, so what we are saying is that we have already opened a hall of shame for people that took the mandate of the party to another political party. It is a shame that these things are happening. It is a shame that democracy has gotten to this level, where people just jump from one party to another party without any reason. And that is why we believe that the courts should rise and speak. And it is even more shameful that even in the at the floor of the National Assembly, the leadership of the National Assembly happily welcomed them because they are joining this party.
Okay,
so this is not democracy every one of us fought for.
Okay, just on the last point, what is the NWC willing to do besides litigation to see that the party closes rank? Because as NWC, I will tell you from a media practitioner's point of view, the NWC is not effective in holding government to power. The only person that has been speaking is Peter Obi. I've never seen you or Abure or any effectively engage this government on policy issues back to back. It's all wrangling and internal fighting. So what is the NWC ready to do to bring everybody together and move forward?
I am going to say that you are wrong in this because there is no week the office of the National Publicity Secretary does not come out with a statement critiquing this government, giving appropriate and alternative way to achieve certain things. If you say that Labour Party remains the only political party that has been on the news doing much, doing the work of opposition in Nigeria. And you cannot divorce Peter Obi from Labour Party. Peter Obi is still a member of Labour Party. So if he's speaking, he's also speaking for Labour Party.
All right, I understand you, but I still disagree with you respectfully. At least we are the space watchers. You can speak, but how loud your voice is a different kettle of fish. I contextualized to say Peter Obi, and I said NWC. I was very clear. But I must thank you,
I am here on your program. I am here on your program, so that's part of it.
Well, we didn't discuss any policy issue. We're discussing internal issues of your party. But we must thank you. We'll keep inviting you guys to come and talk on these issues. Obiorefo is the National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party. Thank you for coming on the program.
I appreciate it. Thank you once more.
All right, and that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye-bye.